Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of It's Been a Long Week here at Cantina Corner show on YouTube. Hope you've had a great week. Obviously, segments, it's been a long week, and there's one specific company that I want to get into where they've had some major changes this week. So it's been a long week for Twitter. Twitter, if you know, has had a CEO change recently. The original CEO, or not the original, but the CEO that just resigned, Jack Dorsey, is being replaced by a gentleman named Parag Agrawal, if I'm pronouncing his name right. Just to get that out right from the get-go. Jack Dorsey, if you don't know, or you probably know a little bit, you know, when it came to back when Trump was president, he's always been under a lot of scrutiny with you know, how he's handled Twitter as platform when it's come down to you know, censoring of information, pulling of certain things and not pulling other things, and stuff like that, whether it's become political or non-political. There's been a lot of controversy when it comes to Twitter in that aspect, as well as all social medias, you know, across, you know, the internet, you know, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all of them. They've always had issues when it comes to what they want to silence and what they don't silence, to the public opinion as to what is right and what's wrong. So the big thing with Jack Dorsey, which is why this is kind of interesting, Jack Dorsey came under a lot of heat in the last election that we just had, because he had banned, you know, President Donald Trump off of Twitter. You know, the sitting president at the time, he banned him off of Twitter, you know, under what happened under January 6th and, you know, inciting the insurrection and then the violence and all that stuff. But the problem a lot of people had when that happened is, you know, obviously no one wants to, you know, have someone inciting violence, you know, whichever you believe on either side of that, whether he was or wasn't, is the fact that he pulled the sitting president off, and you have all these other people that are still on Twitter, you know, heads of ISIS and all these, you know, horrible people, you know, part of these, you know, militant gangs and military leaders over in Afghanistan, all these war-torn countries and shit like that. And you have all these horrible people that are still on Twitter. None of them have been banned. Everyone still have their accounts, all that. And, you know, it comes down to who gets pulled and who doesn't. It's like, you know, this person is not allowed to do it, the sitting president of the United States, but these other people who have said horrible things, you know, from other countries, they're allowed to still be on there. So there's always been controversy around that. As far as Jack Dorsey goes, just to give you a little snippet, if you know, were unaware of who he was or what happened with Twitter. So he just resigned, and now we have, as I said, Parag, and I'm going to fuck up this last name, Parag Agrawal. He is from what they say here, a software engineer known to a few outside of Twitter, who has replaced Jack Dorsey as CEO of Twitter. That just happened this week. And one of the big things is why I'm talking about this, because it's getting a lot of headlines right now as far as more controversy within Twitter. Right after the CEO was named, they came out with a new policy that goes over their like privacy, like public privacy, posting photos and videos and whatnot. But basically, in a nutshell, from what they have, and I'm going to pull this up here for you. Let me switch this over. There we go. Okay, so here, one of the articles that I found, you can find it anywhere, but I'm just using the New York Times as an example. Right here, we had Matthew Cortland, JD, tweeting about it, just because it's easy to put it in a snippet like this. Twitter is banning posting a photo of any private individual without their consent. And he says, this strikes me as a bit unworkable. Now, the thing with this is, obviously, you don't want something posted without your consent. You know, people, you know, want to fact check things, consent, all that stuff. And that's great. That's fine. But the issue that people are having is that they're using certain situations like, well, what if you post a video of a crime happening, or what if you post a video of someone doing something violent, or pictures of something doing something violent, and there's this broad spectrum of, if you don't have their consent and they come out and say, hey, I didn't give consent for this, pull it. Twitter's basically saying that they're going to pull it. Now, I know that may be a big extreme, but that's the argument that people are having, and I can see how they're having that conversation, you know, or that thought, because, you know, Twitter's trying to do something to, you know, give privacy to people, but it also can be abused horribly if it's not done right. And with the past, why I gave you Jack Dorsey's information on pulling certain people and banning them from Twitter as opposed to others who have done worse things or said worse things, it seems like it's going to get muddied pretty quick. And, Twitter Safety posted right underneath that, you can see here, beginning today, we will not allow the sharing of private media such as images or videos or private individuals without their consent. Obviously, publishing people's private info is also prohibited under the policy as is threatening or incentivizing others to do so. So obviously, it's not a good idea to post people's private information. That's a no-brainer. We all fucking know that. I mean, we don't have to explain that. But when you're allowing people, anyone to say, I didn't give consent and pull it, it could be, silencing information that we may need. It could be, eradicating information we may need. And also you see here, it says this policy goes further than U.S. law, which allows people to be photographed or filmed in public places. Under Twitter's policy, people could request that photos of them be taken down, even if the images were taken in public. So that's the gray area I'm talking about, is that, like, say you're a photographer, right? There's a riot going out, a riot, because I'm using that as an example because that's what's happened recently a lot. There's a riot happening, you're taking pictures and you're taking pictures sometimes of violent things that are happening in this riot. And then you go to, post it on the internet or post it on Twitter, sharing that information to people and saying, hey, this is what's going on, blah, 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 describing the situation. Well, if anyone in that situation goes to Twitter, from what, I'm getting a basis of here reading, they can say, I didn't give consent to be on that, and it'll get yanked. And so basically, independent news or anything like that is gone. Like, it's gone. Like, you can just talk about things. You can't show proof of anything, whether it comes to video or images, which is kind of weird. Let's see here. I think there was another thing. Yeah, it says right here, the new policy will extend privacy rights to users in countries that do not have similar laws, a Twitter spokeswoman said. Under Twitter's policy, a user could have a photo removed if it was used to harass them or if they simply do not like the photo. That's understandable. Twitter plans to make exceptions for newsworthy images and videos, and the company will take into consideration whether the image was publicly available, was being used by traditional news outlets, or was relevant to the community. So, I mean, they are saying that, they're going to take things in consideration under the lens of, is this okay or is this not? But what we've seen in the past with Twitter and a lot of social medias lately, especially when it comes to the political climate and everything going on with that and what's going on in the world with COVID and all this, even when something is pulled and that is proven to be true, it's never reinstated. And that's the problem when it comes to, like, I didn't give consent, or this is fake information, or this is false. Even if it comes out that it wasn't, or if this person, it did something bad and now they're saying that, like, I still don't want it up there. I don't know. I could be pulling at strings. You all can think that I'm stupid and this is a good thing, but I see it being implemented badly. I mean, let me know what you think down in the comments, but to me, I feel like this is going to get abused pretty bad. We'll have to see what happens. I mean, it says right here, a sweeping expansion of Twitter's policy against posting private information was met with backlash shortly after the company announced it on Tuesday, as Twitter users questioned whether the policy would be practical to enforce. And that's what I'm getting at. Is it going to be practical? Are they going to make it an even playing field across the board with using the stuff? Like, Jack Dorsey wasn't doing that when he was the CEO. And this new CEO of Twitter, what was his name again? Parag Agrawal. You can see him right here. This is the new CEO of Twitter right now, who's replacing Jack Dorsey. I think this guy had a comment, or he tweeted out something, and I could be taking this out of quotes or fucking this up, so forgive me if I'm wrong, but he said something along the lines of, shit, I don't even remember what it was. You know what? Scratch that. I'm not even going to say it. I'm not even going to say it because I don't want to spread false information, because I know it was something about race and it was horrible what he tweeted, and I'll probably try to find it and post it if I can. But look it up for yourselves if you can. You could look up him, Parag Agrawal, racist tweet or something like that, and you can find it. And it's just interesting that, we're getting all these new policies in when things are already strict as it is. And now they're just, going to give anyone the right to say, well, I don't approve that, take it down, which is good and bad, in my opinion. So that's pretty much all I had. Other than that, it's been a pretty quiet week. We've got a lot of stuff going on social media that's always changing, always updating information, things like that, and when it comes to YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, it's interesting to see how much they are constraining a lot of things. And, I don't know, because Twitter started as like the town hall for people. That's kind of what it was. If you look at everything that it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be a community where people could just talk and have like a town hall, just like discuss things, whatever. And then it's just more and more getting restricted, and what you're allowed to say, what you're not allowed to say, what you're allowed to post, what you're not allowed to post. And it's just become such a muddied mess that they just choose what they want to be on there and what not to be on there. And they're a private company. They have the right to do so. I always back that up, but we'll see how this takes off. We'll see how this new the new CEO of Twitter takes it, because Jack Dorsey was kind of a mess in my opinion. I can go on for forever about a lot of the different things that he did, but I just wanted to give you that little snippet. That was the big thing that most recently he was, oh, they also did a lot with COVID too. They pulled a lot of stuff with COVID, and then some stuff was found to be true, and then they never reinstated. They were basically like, oh, sorry, yeah, I guess that was kind of true, but nothing ever came of it. Nothing ever got put back up. So it's a mess. It's always going to be a fucking mess. The internet is always a mess, but what are you going to do? It's the world we live in. So let me know in the comments below what you think about the situation, if you know anything about it, what your opinions are on the new policy when it comes to consent, whether it's going to be abused or not, whether it's going to be used properly. And also make sure to subscribe to us here on YouTube, hit that like button or dislike button. Like I always say, we want the truth. So let us know how you feel. And like I say at the end of every video, if you made it to the end of this video, I want to thank each and every one of you. And if you didn't, go fuck yourself. And you have a great rest of your week and weekend. We'll see you later.